The message came on what humanity would later call the last normal day. Across every screen on Earth, the same face appeared. A being with iridescent skin that shifted between deep azure and violet, with 6 eyes arranged in a perfect hexagon. Its voice resonated with a harmonic quality impossible for human vocal cords to produce. People of Earth, I am Vilexian, emissary of the Galactic Concordat. Your species has been observed for centuries. Your time of isolation ends today. You are invited to join our unity of 17,000 civilizations. Accept and receive technologies beyond your comprehension. Decline. The being paused, all 6 eyes blinking in perfect sequence. And remain alone in a dangerous cosmos. Admiral Kaida Nakamura stood motionless on the bridge of the UNDF Intrepid, Earth's most advanced warship, though apparently primitive by Concordat standards. Her knuckles whitened as she gripped the command rail. "How many ships, Lieutenant?" "Rykov?" she asked, voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. 17 vessels, Admiral, each approximately 3 kilometers in length. Energy readings off the charts. They're positioned at strategic points around Earth's orbit. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't first contact. This was a show of force. In Geneva, the United Earth Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from all nations gathered as scientific teams analyzed the transmission. Theoretical physicist Dr. Ilara Nasri addressed the assembly, her hologram projected above the central podium. The technology required for interstellar travel on this scale confirms what many of us have long suspected. Space is not empty, and we are not alone. But there's something troubling about their offer. Council President Osei leaned forward. "Explain, Doctor." Their language choice. Unity rather than alliance. Observed rather than discovered. And most concerning, they've been watching us for centuries without making contact until now. Why? In orbit above Mars, xenolinguist Dr. Maddox Frost noticed something others had missed. Subtle variations in the harmonic frequencies of the alien speech. Working through the night, he decoded a hidden message embedded within the primary communication. "Admiral," his voice cracked as he contacted Nakamura. "There's more to their message, a subharmonic encoding that translates to 17,000 unified, 17,000 subjugated. Choose quickly." Meanwhile, in the remote wilderness of the Yukon, Lumi Tarkiainen had received the same broadcast as everyone else despite her isolation. A former military strategist who had retreated from society after the resource wars, she emerged from her cabin and stared at the night sky. "They've made a fundamental error," she whispered to the northern lights dancing above. "They've shown their hand too early." Within 24 hours, Earth's response was prepared. The Concordat ships maintained their positions, waiting. Admiral Nakamura stood beside the world president as humanity's answer was broadcast. "Emissary Vilexian, we are honored by your invitation," the president began. "Humanity has always dreamed of reaching the stars and finding others. However, we have questions that must be addressed before any decision can be made. We request a diplomatic delegation to discuss terms of any potential alliance." What the broadcast didn't reveal was the mobilization happening beneath the surface. Military forces worldwide moved to high alert under a blackout protocol. Scientists worked feverishly to analyze the alien technology from long-range scans. And deep beneath the lunar surface, a facility unknown to most of humanity, activated protocols developed for exactly this scenario. The Concordat had expected immediate capitulation or foolish resistance. They received neither. They had offered unity. Earth had officially delayed, and in that delay, humanity prepared. The Concordat's response came 3 days later. Their diplomatic vessel would dock with the International Space Station, where 5 representatives from Earth would meet, with emissary Vilexian. What the Concordat didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for extraterrestrial contact for decades. Project Prometheus, a classified international contingency program, had been activated the moment the alien ships appeared. Admiral Nakamura led the delegation, accompanied by Dr. Ilara Nasri, linguistics expert Dr. Maddox Frost, diplomat Orion, Cavell, and surprisingly, Lumi Tarkianen, retrieved from her Yukon isolation at the special request of the World Security Council. "Why me?" Lumi had asked when military personnel arrived at her cabin. General Kofi Annan had answered simply, "Because you wrote the playbook on asymmetric warfare against technologically superior forces, and because you predicted this scenario 15 years ago in your classified paper, Existential Threats, First Contact Protocols." The delegation boarded the station as billions watched from Earth. The Concordate shuttle approached, a sleek craft that seemed to bend light around its hull. The airlock cycled, steam hissed, and emissary Vilexian entered, flanked by two towering guards with exoskeletons that pulsed with energy. In person, the alien was nearly 3 meters tall, moving with an uncanny fluidity. "I bring greetings from the 17,000. United Civilizations." Vilexian's voice reverberated through the station. "We welcome you to humanity's home," Orion Cavell responded with practiced diplomacy. The formal introductions proceeded, but Lumi's attention was elsewhere. She had noticed something about the guards, subtle movements, positioning, the way they oriented themselves. These weren't ceremonial escorts, they were elite soldiers prepared for violence. During the discussions, Vilexian presented remarkable offers, cures for diseases, clean energy technology, and faster-than-light travel capabilities. "All this becomes yours upon integration," the emissary stated. "And what exactly does integration entail?" Admiral Nakamura asked directly. "A simple process. Concordate governance oversees planetary decisions. Designated humans serve as administrative liaisons. Your military forces will be disbanded, unnecessary under Concordate protection. Your industries will be realigned to serve the greater unity." Dr. Frost, monitoring the subharmonic frequencies in Vilexian's speech, detected the hidden message: resistance patterns identical to Procyon's system. "Prepare neural inhibitors," he discreetly signaled to Lumi, who maintained her impassive expression. As the delegation returned to Earth with the Concordate's formal proposal, Lumi convened with the World Security Council in a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. "They're lying," she stated flatly. "I've analyzed their body language, their positioning, their choice of words. This isn't an invitation, it's a conquest with minimal resistance. Integration means submission. The technology they're offering," a council member began, "is bait," Lumi interrupted. "Dr. Nasri has analyzed their propulsion systems. They're advanced, but not incomprehensibly so, and their weapons. They're designed for subjugation, not destruction. They want Earth intact. They want us intact. That gives us leverage." In orbit, the Concordate waited. Their timeline allowed 7 Earth days for acceptance. After that, they would demonstrate their persuasive capabilities on a small, uninhabited island in the Pacific. But below, humanity was moving. The lunar facility, Bastion, activated its hidden arsenal. Submarines worldwide slipped silently into strategic positions. And in laboratories across the globe, scientists worked to reverse engineer the one piece of Concordate technology they had managed to scan in detail: their communication systems. Because as Lumi had written 15 years earlier, in any conflict, control of communication is as important as control of weapons. If we ever face a superior alien force, our first objective must be to understand how they talk to each other. The countdown to humanity's answer and the Concordate's demonstration continued. On the 6th day, hours before humanity's deadline to respond, Project Prometheus unveiled its first countermeasure. In a secured facility beneath Geneva, Dr. Nasri presented her findings to the World Security Council. "We've analyzed the Concordate's energy signatures," Their ships generate enormous power, but there's a pattern to their emissions, a vulnerability. Holographic models materialized above the conference table, showing the alien vessel's complex energy matrices. They utilize a quantum communication network that binds their entire fleet. It's impressively sophisticated, but also their weakness. Their unity is literal, a shared consciousness across multiple vessels. If we disrupt this network, Admiral Nakamura nodded slowly, they become isolated ships rather than a coordinated force. Across the globe, preparations accelerated, retrofitted. Satellites moved into new positions under the guise of communication maintenance. Deep space telescopes reoriented to gather intelligence on concordant movements beyond Earth's immediate vicinity. Meanwhile, Lumi Tarkianen led a different kind of preparation. The concordant expects either submission or conventional resistance, she explained to military leaders worldwide. We'll offer neither. Her strategy was unorthodox, a distributed resistance network without central command points. Thousands of small autonomous units prepared to deploy worldwide, each capable of operating independently. Asymmetric warfare on a planetary scale, General Annan remarked. Lumi's expression remained grim. They expect hierarchy because that's what they understand. Their unity is centralized control. We'll show them something different. On the Concordant's command ship, Emissary Vilexian communed with the Overseer, a vast intelligence that coordinated the subjugation fleets across multiple star systems. The humans delay, Vilexian reported. Their behavior matches resistance patterns from previous acquisitions. Predicted compliance probability, 32%. The Overseer's response flowed through Vilexian's consciousness. Proceed with demonstration. Target, Pacific coordinates as planned. Effect, minimal destruction, maximum visibility. Understood, Vilexian acknowledged. The species shows unusual coordination for their development stage. 17 potential command centers identified. Irrelevant, came the Overseer's dismissal. All species resist initially. All eventually join the unity. As the deadline approached, humanity presented its formal response. World President Zhou addressed not only Earth, but the watching Concordat. After careful consideration of your generous offer, humanity has reached its decision. We recognize the benefits of galactic cooperation and wish to establish diplomatic relations with the Concordat and its member civilizations. In orbit, Vilexian received the transmission with the six-eyed equivalent of a smile. The president continued. However, we respectfully decline integration under the terms presented. Earth proposes instead an alliance of sovereign entities with cultural and technological exchange based on mutual respect. Vilexian's expression shifted. This was not submission, but neither was it outright defiance. The Concordat protocols for this response variant were unclear. Your decision is acknowledged, the emissary responded after consulting the Overseer. To demonstrate the benefits of reconsideration, we will proceed with a scheduled demonstration of Concordat capabilities. Observe and reconsider. The largest Concordat vessel moved into position above the uninhabited island. Energy readings spiked as its primary emitter charged. But at that precise moment, humanity revealed its hand. 53 satellites simultaneously activated, creating a defensive web of intersecting energy fields based on Dr. Nasri's research. The quantum disruption was subtle. Not an attack, merely interference. On the Concordat vessel, alarms blared as systems faltered. The demonstration weapon discharged, but at drastically reduced power, creating merely a spectacular light show in the atmosphere rather than the planned devastation. More critically, the ship's connection to the Overseer flickered, then failed. For the first time in centuries of conquests, a Concordat expansion fleet had been isolated from its command intelligence, and Earth's response had been neither submission nor conventional warfare. It was something the Concordat had never encountered, a demonstration of their own technological ingenuity coupled with unpredictable strategy. The opening move in humanity's gambit for freedom had been played. The hours following humanity's countermeasure were tense with anticipation. The Concordat fleet, momentarily disoriented by the quantum disruption, regrouped with unsettling speed. Inside the Lunar Bastion facility, Admiral Nakamura monitored the situation alongside Dr. Frost, whose linguistic algorithms processed the frantic communications erupting from the alien vessels. "They're adapting," Dr. Frost announced, studying the decoded signals. "Shifting to backup communication protocols, but they're confused. This has never happened to them before." On the main display, 17 Concordat vessels repositioned into a defensive formation. Their energy signatures fluctuated as they established a new network configuration. "They've lost contact with their overseer," Nakamura observed. "They're operating on contingency protocols. How long until they restore full communications?" Dr. Nasri's voice came through the secure channel from Earth. "Hours, maybe less, but we've proven a critical point. They're not invincible. And more importantly, we've captured valuable data on their adaptive algorithms." The disruption had achieved its primary goal, to buy time and gather intelligence. But the Concordat's response would be swift and harsh. On Earth, Lumi's strategy shifted into its next phase. As the alien ships regrouped, thousands of small autonomous units activated worldwide. Not military forces in the conventional sense, but a distributed network of specialized teams implementing what Lumi had named Operation Phantom Swarm. Each unit had a specific focus. Some analyzed Concordat transmissions, others monitored energy fluctuations, while others prepared local defense systems based on Dr. Nasri's principles. In orbit, emissary Vilexian conferred with the fleet commanders. For the first time in the emissary's long existence, uncertainty clouded its thoughts. "The humans have deployed a technology that should be beyond their capabilities," Vilexian noted. "Our intelligence assessment was flawed." Commander Zix Varn, a veteran of 16 subjugation campaigns, responded with characteristic pragmatism. "Their resistance is impressive, but ultimately futile. We will bypass their interference and execute the standard protocol, targeted strikes, on military and governmental command centers." The Concordat's largest vessels began charging their primary weapons, targeting major cities worldwide. This was no longer a demonstration, but punishment for defiance. But as they prepared to fire, a new anomaly appeared. Hundreds of small, previously undetected satellites deployed from hidden installations on Earth and the lunar surface. These weren't weapons, but sophisticated sensor arrays designed by Dr. Frost's team, capable of capturing and analyzing Concordat. Weapons in action. The aliens fired, destructive energy lanced toward Earth's surface. And something unexpected happened. The energy beams struck atmospheric defense grids, a technology humanity had secretly developed by studying the Concordat's own shields. The attacks didn't miss completely, but their power was diffused, causing damage, but not the devastating destruction intended. In the Rocky Mountain bunker, Lumi allowed herself a grim smile as reports flowed in. "Minimal casualties. Defense grid operating at 83% efficiency. And most importantly, we've collected comprehensive data on their weapons technology." General Annan stared at her in astonishment. "You never expected to stop them completely?" "No," Lumi confirmed. "This was about information gathering. Every time they attack, we learn. Every adaptation they make teaches us something new." In Geneva, World President Zhou prepared an unexpected broadcast to both Earth's population and the Concordat. As billions watched with trepidation, he delivered humanity's true response. People of Earth and members of the Concordat fleet. Today's events have demonstrated that while we may be technologically outmatched, humanity will not be subjugated. We offer neither surrender nor conventional war, but something else entirely, a new paradigm of resistance. The transmission reached the Concordat vessels, where Vilexian watched with all 6 eyes fixed on the human leader. We propose a ceasefire and genuine negotiation. But know this, any further attacks will trigger our contingency response. We call it the Prometheus Protocol. Its details remain classified, but understand that humanity values freedom above all else, even survival. It was a bluff, but one built on a foundation of demonstrated capability. Humanity had shown it could disrupt Concordat communications and partially defend against their weapons, just enough to plant seeds of doubt. As the Concordat commanders conferred, sensors detected new movement on Earth's surface and in orbit. Thousands of small craft, some merely decoys, others containing actual technology, deployed in a carefully choreographed dance of strategic ambiguity. The Concordat had come expecting either submission or primitive resistance. They found neither. Instead, they faced a species that chose freedom and backed that choice with ingenuity. 3 days into the standoff, the galaxy began to take notice. Beyond Earth's solar system, other civilizations monitored the unprecedented situation with growing interest. The Concordat's subjugation protocol had never failed in its 17,000-year history. Yet here was a pre-FTL species not only resisting but forcing a stalemate. On the Concordat command vessel, emissary Vilexian received an unexpected communication, not from the distant overseer, but from an observer from the reclusive echelons. A coalition of civilizations that had long avoided Concordat integration. The humans demonstrate remarkable adaptability, noted the observer, a crystalline entity known as Nexil. Perhaps the Concordat's approach requires reconsideration. Vilexian bristled at the implicit criticism. They merely delay the inevitable. Our reinforcements approach. Indeed, deep space telemetry had detected a second Concordat fleet entering the solar system, 30 more vessels converging on Earth. In the lunar bastion, Admiral Nakamura and Dr. Frost received the troubling news. Our defense grid can't handle that many ships, Nakamura admitted, studying the projections. Dr. Frost's expression remained thoughtful. Perhaps we don't need to defeat them militarily. The Concordat operates on absolute certainty of victory. We've already introduced doubt. What if we could leverage that? Their discussion was interrupted by an alert from Dr. Nasri on Earth. Admiral, we've made a breakthrough. The quantum disruption field we developed, we can modify it to access their historical archives. Their archives? Why would that help us now? Because, Dr. Nasri continued with barely contained excitement, I believe the Concordat is hiding something from its integrated civilizations, something about the nature of their unity. On Earth, Lumi Tarkianen implemented the next phase of her strategy. If conventional military resistance was futile against the approaching reinforcements, they needed an unconventional approach. Operation Ghost Echo activated, thousands of automated probes launched from Earth, each containing a simple but powerful payload, the truth about humanity's willingness to fight for freedom, broadcast on frequencies detectable by the integrated civilizations within the Concordat vessels. We're not trying to defeat their ships, Lumi explained to the World Security Council. We're targeting their narrative. The Concordat maintains control through information manipulation as much as military power. Meanwhile, Dr. Nasri's team worked feverishly to penetrate the Concordat's historical archives. The quantum disruption field, originally designed to interfere with their communications, had revealed an unexpected vulnerability in their data storage systems. It's like finding a thread in a tapestry, Dr. Nasri explained. Pull on it gently. Enough, and you can unravel portions without triggering security measures. What they discovered changed everything. In a secure transmission to the lunar bastion, Dr. Nasri shared the revelation. The Concordat isn't a voluntary union. It's a hierarchical system controlled by the original 3 founding species. The other 16,997 civilizations are maintained in a state of neural compliance through the same communication network that coordinates their fleet. Admiral Nakamura's expression darkened. So when they speak, Of unity? They mean absolute control, Dr. Nasri confirmed. Chemical and technological subjugation disguised as voluntary integration. Armed with this knowledge, humanity prepared its boldest move yet. As the reinforcement fleet approached Earth, World President Zhou requested direct communication with not just emissary Vilexian, but with representatives of all species aboard the Concordat vessels. "We have accessed your historical archives," the president announced simply. "We know the truth about integration, and we're broadcasting that truth to every civilization in your fleet." On the Concordat vessels, alarms sounded as the carefully maintained neural compliance systems registered disturbances throughout the integrated populations. Vilexian's 6 eyes widened in genuine alarm. This transmission must cease immediately, but it was too late. Humanity's message, carried by thousands of probes and amplified by Dr. Nasri's modified quantum field, penetrated the Concordat's information barriers. For the first time in millennia, the integrated civilizations began to question. Not in open rebellion, the neural compliance prevented that, but in subtle ways that rippled through the collective consciousness of the fleet, and watching from afar, the reclusive echelons took note. Observer Nexel transmitted to others of its kind. "The humans have accomplished in days what we have attempted for centuries. They have exposed the Concordat's true nature." As the reinforcement fleet entered Earth orbit, humanity braced for their response. But the expected attack never came. Instead, something unprecedented occurred within the Concordat fleet: hesitation. The hesitation lasted precisely 17 minutes, a symbolic duration that humanity would only later understand represented the 17 founding species of the original resistance against Concordat rule, long erased from official history. During those 17 minutes, chaos erupted aboard the alien vessels. The neural compliance systems, designed to maintain order among integrated civilizations, struggled against the influx of forbidden information. In Lunar Bastion, Dr. Frost monitored the linguistic patterns of Concordat communications with growing excitement. Their language structure is breaking down. The rigid harmonics are becoming individualized. Different species are beginning to communicate in their native tongues. Admiral Nakamura watched the main display as the Concordat fleet's perfect formation wavered. Several smaller vessels drifted out of alignment as their crews experienced the first tremors of independent thought in generations. On Earth, Dr. Nasri's team had discovered something even more significant within the Concordat archives: the suppressed history of a device called the Nexus Key, the technological heart of the neural compliance system. "It's housed in the flagship," she reported. "Destroy it, and the entire compliance network collapses." But before humanity could act on this intelligence, the standoff was interrupted by the arrival of a new vessel, neither Concordat nor human in design. It materialized between the opposing fleets, its crystalline structure refracting sunlight in impossible patterns. "Greetings, humans," came a transmission in perfect Earth standard. "I am Observer Nexel of the reclusive echelons. Your resistance has not gone unnoticed." The crystalline ship projected a holographic image visible from Earth, a map of the galaxy with thousands of points of light. "For millennia, we have watched the Concordat expand. For millennia, we have searched for a species with both the wisdom to see through their deception and the courage to stand against it." Admiral Nakamura established direct communication. "You've been watching us all along? Why not help?" "Because true freedom cannot be granted. It must be claimed," Nexel responded. "Had we intervened, you would have merely exchanged one external governance for another. But now, having proven your commitment to self-determination, we offer alliance." On the Concordat command ship, Emissary Vilexian faced a situation unprecedented in its long existence, a full-scale rebellion brewing within the fleet as the neural compliance systems fluctuated, coupled with the appearance of the long, elusive Reclusive echelons. The overseer, finally re-establishing contact, transmitted urgent commands. Deploy the suppression protocol. All rebellious elements must be purged. But when Vilexian attempted to implement these orders, something extraordinary happened. Commander Zix Varn, veteran of countless subjugation campaigns, blocked the transmission. No, the commander stated, simply six-fingered hand hovering over the control interface. I remember now, before integration. My people, we chose freedom too. Throughout the Concordate fleet, similar acts of defiance sparked as the neural compliance weakened under the combined effect of humanity's broadcasts and the presence of the reclusive echelons. On Earth, Lumi Tarkianen understood the critical moment at hand. This is our opportunity, she told the World Security Council, not for victory through destruction, but through liberation. Project Prometheus entered its final phase, not a weapon, but a targeted electromagnetic pulse precisely calibrated to the frequency of the Nexus Key's operation, based on Dr. Nasri's analysis of the Concordate archives. World President Zhou addressed, "Humanity as the pulse generators charged. Today we fight not just for our freedom, but for all those who have lost theirs. Our resistance is not against the peoples of the Concordate, but against the system that enslaves them." The pulse fired, not from military installations, but from thousands of distributed points worldwide, combining into a single, powerful wave that struck the Concordate flagship with pinpoint accuracy. Aboard the vessel, the Nexus Key, a deceptively small device encased in shimmering crystal, cracked. Sparks erupted as its millennia-long operation ceased. Across the Concordate fleet, neural compliance systems failed completely. 17,000 civilizations experienced true consciousness for the first time in generations. Some ships immediately turned against their former masters. Others fell into confusion. Many simply withdrew, uncertain how to process their newfound autonomy. The overseer, its control suddenly severed, transmitted a final command to Vilexian. Initiate fleet self-destruction. The Concordate must not fall, but the emissary, experiencing its first moment of true choice, responded, "No, we choose a different path." 3 days later, representatives from Earth, the liberated Concordate civilizations, and the reclusive echelons gathered aboard the International Space Station, now expanded with temporary modules to accommodate diverse alien physiologies. Admiral Nakamura, Dr. Nasri, Dr. Frost, Orion Cavil, and Lumi Tarkianen represented humanity. Former Commander Zix Varn and Emissary Vilexian, now freed from Overseer, Control, represented the liberated Concordate species. Observer Nexil spoke for the reclusive echelons. "We propose a new form of interstellar cooperation," Orion Cavell stated, "not based on forced unity or complete isolation, but on mutual respect for sovereignty and voluntary association." Nexil's crystalline form shimmered with approval. "The Galactic Covenant, an alliance of free worlds." Former emissary Vilexian, its 6 eyes now displaying a warmth previously unseen, addressed the human delegation. "We came offering unity through subjugation. You chose freedom not just for yourselves, but for thousands of enslaved civilizations. The galaxy will never be the same." Admiral Nakamura nodded solemnly. "Freedom is never without risk, but it is always worth fighting for." As the delegates formalized the founding principles of the Galactic Covenant, news spread throughout Earth and beyond. The 17,000 formerly subjugated civilizations began the difficult process of rediscovering their unique cultures and independent identities, and throughout the galaxy, other advanced civilizations watched with astonishment as the supposedly primitive humans of Earth accomplished what none had dared attempt: the dismantling of the Concordate's forced unity through a combination of technological ingenuity, strategic brilliance, and unwavering commitment to freedom. They had been offered unity. They had chosen freedom. And the galaxy, which had once watched in fear, now looked to humanity with something new: hope. For in demonstrating that even the most seemingly unstoppable force could be overcome, Earth had ignited something powerful across the stars. The realization that freedom, though difficult and dangerous, was not only possible, but worth the struggle. The age of the Concordat had ended. The era of the Covenant had begun. And at its foundation stood the principles that had guided humanity's resistance: sovereignty, ingenuity, cooperation without subjugation, and above all, the unyielding belief that no civilization, no matter how advanced, had the right to determine another's destiny. The stars, once pathways for conquerors, became roads to new possibilities, connecting free peoples across the vast expanse of space, united not by force but by choice.